The journey of the Holy Cross Sisters began in Switzerland with the dream of Father Theodosius Florentini, a Franciscan Capuchin. Inspired by Francis of Assisi, Theodosius was on fire with the words of the gospel. Theodosius felt called to serve the needs of the poor, the underprivileged, the unemployed, and the uneducated. Wherever there was a need, he found a way to address it. He was inventive and took risks.
Father Theodosius was a free spirit. He had dreams. He had a vision that carried him outside the box of tradition. And so I thought, this is a man that I can emulate. This is a man after my own heart.
Theodosius traveled throughout Switzerland and beyond, seeking financial support for his endeavors. He founded a congregation of women dedicated to the service of others. Together, they became effective instruments of God's unconditional love for all people. One of the most capable and determined young women to join Theodosius in his efforts was Catherine Scherer. Later, she became known as Mother Teresa Scherer, the first leader and inspiration of the sisters' community. The sisters worked in hospitals, schools, orphanages, and factories established by Theodosius in towns and villages throughout Switzerland. In private homes, they cared for the disabled, the elderly, and the dying. In 1856, the Congregation of the Sisters of Mercy of the Holy Cross, also known as the Holy Cross Sisters, was established. Ingenbohl, Switzerland became the cradle of the new community. On February 15, 1865, death ended Theodosius' dynamic and untiring journey quite unexpectedly. He was 57 years old, in tremendous debt, with new projects incomplete and many dreams unfulfilled. Mother Teresa was confronted with financial ruin and a mountain of debts. Loyal to Theodosius and supported by her sisters, she paid off every documented debt, satisfied questionable debts, and continued to carry out the dreams of Theodosius. Mother Teresa traveled untiringly, visiting and encouraging her sisters. Now a community of 1,658 sisters, she knew each one personally and corresponded with them. She was known for her gentleness, unassuming personality, and cheerfulness. She encouraged her sisters to be courageous and strong and work for peace whatever the cost. She believed in God's unlimited goodness and asked her sisters to discover the grain of gold that lies hidden in each person's heart. Mother Teresa Scherer's journey ended on June 16, 1888, at the age of 63. She had faithfully spread the good news of God's unconditional love for all as she expanded the work of the founder, Theodosius Florentini. However, her dream to send sisters to the United States was not fulfilled during her lifetime. One of her successors, Mother Anacita Regli, inherited Mother Teresa's enthusiasm for this dream. In 1912, Anacita accepted a request from Bishop Vincent Worley to staff and manage a hospital he built in Dickinson, North Dakota. Interest in the American mission was lively, and many would have gladly joined the 6 sisters that were chosen to develop the ministry at St. Joseph's Hospital. The beginning was difficult for the sisters. The main challenges stemmed from the outbreak of World War I, the language barrier, and the extreme poverty which the sisters endured. However, the mysterious death of 5 sisters in 1 week called them to be courageous and strong as they grieved the loss of these sisters. Sister Carol Crosby, a former member of the International Leadership Team, was curious how Mother Anacita would have responded in such a crisis.
I would probably ask her about the sisters that died in North Dakota, because the same thing happened in India. Of the 4 first sisters, 3 of them died of typhoid in the first years. And then I'm thinking to myself, now what would we do if we as a general team had this happen? All these sisters died in North Dakota, all these sisters died in India. What would we do? Would we send more sisters there, knowing the dangers of the place? And I thought, well, those early people really had a lot of guts. They had a lot of courage to send more people to a place. And I'm sure it was because they saw the need.
By 1920, the dream and the journey spread into other states. New ministries led the sisters to teach in Haymarsh, North Dakota, care for orphans in Fenton, Missouri, near St. Louis, and administer to the sick in hospitals in Breese and Champaign, Illinois. Additional sisters and young women from Switzerland eagerly came to the United States to respond to the growing needs. Mother Anacita herself came to the U.S. to find a central home for the sisters after her term of leadership in Switzerland was completed. In 1922, Mother Anacita received an invitation to visit the city of Merrill and the property the city of Merrill might offer to them. City fathers proposed a plan. The city would upgrade the Scott Mansion and donate it to the sisters to use as their central house. In exchange, the sisters would establish and staff a new hospital for the Merrill community. Mother Anacita accepted their offer. On October 24, 1923, Mother Anacita and 9 young women desiring to become Holy Cross sisters arrived in Merrill on the morning train. Together they walked from the train depot, through the town, across the bridge spanning the Wisconsin River, and up the hill to their new home, the Scott Mansion. The newly constructed Holy Cross Hospital in Merrill was completed in November 1926. The sisters were now ready to serve the medical needs of the people of Merrill. Holy Cross Hill, as it became known, developed with the additional facilities built by the sisters, a chapel adjacent to the hospital, a high school for girls, and in 1946, a new convent for the sisters. The home and center for the sisters was well established. It was here that the sisters living in other parts of the country returned for their annual retreat, gathered for meetings that involved all the sisters, enjoyed special times of celebration, and retired after a lifetime of ministering to the needs of others. From Holy Cross Hill, the sisters continued to journey to different parts of the country, ministering in rural areas and places where health and educational opportunities were lacking. One such place was the Deep South. "1951 was a dark, tense time in the history of our country. Segregation was enforced.
At the time I made my first vows, our sisters had just lost all their missions in China, and they were feeling very bad at the Mother House about that. Some of them went to Taiwan, but most of them had to come home. And Sister Maria Theodosia, who had been my high school principal, and whom I really revered very much, was there at the time, and she said, well, we have a lot of people to be converted in the United States, especially in the South. And so she was given permission to open a home mission in the South, and eventually found a place in Louisiana. We were asked to do religious education to the public school children. There were no Catholic schools in that area. And so we were to find the black schools in a 90-mile area up river from New Orleans along the Mississippi. We found 9 elementary schools and 3 high schools in that area. And so because we were allowed to go into their school and teach religion any time of the day that the students were free, we were able to schedule classes all week. We made about 200 miles a day back and forth to the schools. And in my class book, I had the names of 2,000 children, and I knew them. But we really enjoyed working with them.
The ministry in the South grew as more sisters worked with people in parishes along the Mississippi River from Luling to Vacherie, Louisiana. Sister Mary Patrick Harrington was one of the sisters working in Luling. In May 1975, Sister Mary Patrick was murdered in a church rectory in Edgard, Louisiana.
I was in Baton Rouge at the time and saw it on TV, and they said a sister was murdered, the pastor and the housekeeper and a sister. It was such a shock, you know.
Similar to 50 years ago in Dickinson, North Dakota, when 5 Holy Cross sisters died within 1 week, the sisters once again were called to draw strength from the cross and each other. From their beginning, the sisters in the U.S. were engaged in various forms of education and healthcare ministries. The words of Theodosius continued to be the motivating factor as they responded creatively and with open minds to those in need of support with the challenges in their lives. Then, during the 1970s and 80s, the sisters' traditional ministries gave way to new expressions of meeting the needs of the time. These responses included establishing and working in food pantries, listening to those grieving the loss of a loved one, providing home care services in the confines of private homes, and as pastoral people, providing leadership to laity in parish communities. In 1985, the sisters developed a new form of relationship with men and women desiring to participate in the Holy Cross journey. Known as Holy Cross Associates, they embrace the sisters' charism and mission in their everyday lives. They too respond to the needs of the times with mercy and compassion in their daily lives. Aware that their numbers were diminishing, the sisters realized they no longer had enough sisters to continue the many ministries they had assumed over the years. This was a difficult time for them. Walking in faith, they courageously decided to transfer the sponsorship of the 3 hospitals they owned and operated. But Merrill was their home, their center. They were now faced with a new challenge. How could they continue to serve the people of Merrill? After a lengthy study, the sisters risked engaging in a new ministry by responding to the needs of Merrill's growing elderly population. In 1989, the sisters renovated their home, Holy Cross Convent, and renamed it Bell Tower Residence. It was their dream that Bell Tower would provide an affordable living alternative and personal care to adults who no longer could remain in their own homes due to a need for assistance. On September 27, 1990, the sisters received a license from the state of Wisconsin to operate a Class C community-based residential facility, CBRF, now referred to as assisted living. The sisters welcomed men and women of all faiths to their home and provided them with a safe and secure living environment while attending to their individual needs. This dream flourished under the administration of Sisters Peggy Jacqueline and Mary Ann Rose. Their commitment was to assure families that their loved ones would receive compassionate care through the hands and understanding hearts of Bell Tower's employees.
I think Bell Tower was the greatest fulfillment of my creativity, not as a human being, as a person, as a nurse, and trying to be and create what I believe our sisters would have wanted the need of the times, and definitely Bell Tower was one of those that was highly needed back in 1990. I really loved meeting people in their own space, in their way, and affecting change that will work for them. Bell Tower's mission and philosophy was more not only to our residents but to our staff. And if they were in trouble, if they had family problems, if they had things to rejoice about and they needed extra time off, somehow we figured out a way that they could do that.
Over the years, programs were developed to enhance the physical, intellectual, and spiritual well-being of the residents. In 2004, Bell Tower Residence was renovated and expanded, adding 2 new wings to the building, bringing the total number of units to 85. 5 neighborhoods were created to meet the changing lifestyle needs of the residents. In 2014, the Memory Support Neighborhood was created on 3rd floor, providing residents with memory loss a safe and secure living area and personalized care to meet their needs. In 2015, the Holy Cross Sisters celebrated 25 years of ministry at Bell Tower Residence. The sisters wanted to make sure that what they built would be around for a long time, and that is why they decided to change ownership of Bell Tower Residence. On May 1st, 2019, they transferred ownership to Wisconsin-Illinois Senior Housing.
It makes me happy that our community saw a need, as like our founders would have done, and tried to meet that need. And I think the growth in Bell Tower has shown that it was the right thing. I think it really is meeting a need of the people of Merrill and the surroundings.
The sisters hope that their spirit of compassion and mercy will be the driving force that will propel Bell Tower into the future.
I would hope that other leaders at Bell Tower and future employees would keep the sisters' charism, their spirit. Our charism, Father Theodosius's motto, the need of the times is the will of God, is why we started to be compassionate in meeting people's needs, to be respectful. Those are our values that we have held.
The Holy Cross Sisters and Associates continue to be faithful to their founders' vision as they respond to today's needs. In the year 2012, the Holy Cross Sisters marked the 100th anniversary of their presence in the United States. As they move into the future, their dream is to continue to transform the challenges of each day into hope and healing, just as the early sisters did under the leadership of Mother Anacita.
I really think she'd be proud, because I think when they came, they had to use and do what was available or what they were able to do. But we are still using what we can use, what skills we may have, how we may assist one another. We do stand on each other's shoulders, and we get the courage or the affirmation to keep going ahead.
The Sisters of Mercy of the Holy Cross continue their good works around the world. The global reach of the sisters has made a difference in the lives of many. Since 1912, the sisters in the United States contributed to the success of their founders.
The Sisters of the USA province have been unceasing in their commitment to the people over the decades. Even today, they bring important contributions to our colorful international congregation. We appreciate very much how they are adjusting to the changes which their diminishing numbers require. In spite of age and health conditions, the sisters here in Merrill remain open to the concerns of the world and open to the needs of the time. This is a living witness to our charism.
The journey in the United States has taken various turns. The sisters and associates have planted many seeds along the way. It is time to celebrate endings, for they precede new beginnings.
One of the things I've been reflecting on a lot in these last months and years is a quote that's a favorite of mine from St. Francis, where he tells us at the moment of his death, or almost at the moment of his death, "I have done what is mine to do. May Christ teach you what is yours." In these years, reflecting on our ministries and our place in Merrill, I think about those sisters who hiked across the bridge in 1923 and up the hill to the Scott Mansion, and they didn't know what was coming. They were ready for that adventure, and they were trusting that God would teach them what is theirs to do. We've lived that way over all the years of our ministries, both in Merrill and in other parts of the country. Our hope is always that we continue to remain responsive to what it is that God teaches us. That as we, in these days, are reminded we can't even hike up the hill to the Scott Mansion because it has come down. And just as that change has affected Merrill and has affected us, that reflection on it's time for us to be free to say, we have done what is ours to do. May Christ teach you what is yours.
This has been the story of the Sisters of Mercy of the Holy Cross in the USA. Those touched by the generosity and ministry of the sisters, associates, and benefactors will write new chapters to inspire future generations.